Hi, everybody. Welcome to Date Night Dialogues with Tag
and Paige.
So, what are we doing tonight, love?
Tonight, our topic is our life when we lived in Phoenix, Arizona. Kind of like when we lived in the house in Deer Valley.
All right. So,
wait, do you know the address?
Of course I know it. I know all of our addresses.
Because I don't.
22050 North 34th Lane, Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow, love. Very good. That was our very first house. We built it, which was kind of amazing.
So we put money down on the house while we were in college, knowing I was going to get a job with Accenture and move to Phoenix. And it was a brand new house. It was way on the outskirts of town, so it got a good price. It was far away from from the center of town. But now it's all built up around it. But yeah, we put money down on it, and we raised enough. I worked 3 jobs during my last semester at BYU so that we could get enough money for a down payment and avoid the mortgage insurance. We bought it for $145,000.
Yes,
so we moved in. We hardly had any stuff. We moved from college to the Prices, Lloyd and Donna's, for a little while.
For a month,
and then we finally closed on it, and we closed on it in July of 1997 when I graduated from BYU at the end of April 97. So we lived with your family for like May and June, something like that. And then we moved in June or July, and we had like no stuff. We had one couch, a couple bed, and that was about it.
Yeah.
The crib.
There was nothing in the living room.
Like our entire.
Nothing in the family room. Well, we did have one couch.
Yes,
an old couch that you had.
A hide-to-bed couch. We just rarely sold it.
Your parents had when you were little.
Yes, and a little hide-to-bed. We just resurfaced it, and we just barely sold it. But when we were moving in, we got the U-Haul. We drove up there. We unloaded everything, and it fit like in the size of one car spot in the garage.
Just a little pile of stuff.
And so we moved all our stuff in to the house, and we filled up 1.5 rooms out of all the rooms I just mentioned, and it was echoey. It was so empty, but it was awesome because we scrimped and saved money. We didn't spend money on cars or cable TV or anything. Our sole focus was to get the best house we could, and then once we had it, to pay off the mortgage as soon as we could.
Yeah.
Every extra dollar.
It was interesting because the economy, everybody was making a lot of money. It felt like people had a lot of money. People were spending a lot of money, but we were scrimping.
Yeah.
We were not spending a lot of money. We were just. I don't know. Sometimes I felt like, why is everyone else getting, all this new furniture? But we didn't. We saved our money. We put in extra. We paid extra for our house, and we would get things along the way when we found good deals, and we would just get things used.
Yeah. So what are some of your first memories in that house?
Well, basically, I remember we had this backyard and it was all dirt.
Yeah, we didn't pay for any sort of landscaping or anything. We're we'll do it on our spire cellar. We didn't even pay for the front yard. You had to. You had no choice. But for the HOA, and we didn't even get a back patio, so the sun was beating down in that back window. Yeah, remember that? And this little teeny pad of cement.
So,
and all dirt, tons of dirt.
The thing about that I remember is just kind of debating between the two of us on what his vision was and what my vision was, and it's just that's just the way it is when you're married. You each have your own vision, and you somehow have to come together,
come to a compromise.
Little by little, we would tell each other our ideas.
We weren't going to actually implement anything until we agreed.
Yeah, so we'd tell each other our ideas and our vision of what we're thinking, and sometimes it would be no, and the other person would be no, and but before long we figured it out, and it was the end result was our masterpiece, know.
Another thing I liked about it is we were one of the first homes in the neighborhood. There were probably a lot of homes being built in that neighborhood, and so since we didn't get a patio, what I would do is when I saw another home going up just like ours and they were building a back patio, at night when all the construction workers were gone, I would go over to the other houses and I would write down every piece of wood that they used when they built their patio. I would look at, all right, they had
figure out how they
number
made it.
of 2x6s, this number of 2x10s, this 4x6 posts, this kind of flashing, all the little nails and the little, things, and I would make a little list, and I made ours a little bigger. Everyone else was like 10 feet, and I made ours 12 feet long, hung out from the house. And then we saved up enough money until we built our patio by ourselves. My dad came down and helped me attach it into the stucco of the house, and we had a really awesome looking patio.
Yeah, it was cool. I think one of my favorite memories is the little playhouse that we built under the stairs.
Yeah, so they had a little closet under the stairs. We didn't have anything really needed to store in there, so we just turned it into a playhouse.
Yeah, it had like a little kitchen. We actually cut a hole in the wall because there was dead space underneath the stairs that we could take it in even farther. And so we cut a little hole, and it was just kind of fun for the kids to go down there.
It was like the storage closet for the playhouse. You know, like you could go into the playhouse, and then you could turn the whole corner and go through the hole, and then there was another playhouse.
Yeah.
Playhouse for the playhouse.
Yeah.
And you painted on the wall, and you painted a window, and it made it look like Grammy and Papa were waving at us through the window.
Uh-huh. And they had a little kitchen, and it was a cute little playroom. That was really fun.
One memory I have is just like with Quincy, and then later with Briggs, like just kind of running around the house and like either chasing Quincy and jumping out from behind the island and scaring her, or else getting Briggs and carrying him around like a drool bomb baby and trying to get him to drool on her, and she was running for her life and stuff, and just running around.
Just a funny little girl with blonde curls. Or
we'd get a cardboard box and tie a rope to it, and she would sit in it, and I would pull her around like a little wagon that would just slide along the ground. Remember that?
Yeah. And we also put a swing up in the house.
Yeah, there was a swing between the family room and the office.
Yeah, and we could crank them to the point where they're like touching the roof with their toes.
Yeah, on both sides.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
You know, I remember we started out with the most inexpensive, carpet that we could get, and the linoleum floor. And then later, when we could afford it, we went and bought all this wood flooring, and we redid our own wood floor.
Yeah.
And we tore out all the carpet in the living room, or the family room.
Yeah, the family room in the kitchen.
Family room in the kitchen. We put the wood floor right over the linoleum, but we tore out the carpet, and then we just had like all this pergo flooring.
That was cool.
And then we finally built the patio, and I remember one thing that was cool. So the patio at first, it took us about a year to save up enough money to build it. So we built the patio, and it looked really nice, but it wasn't painted. It was just raw wood, And then the construction company called us and said, it's time for your 1 year repaint of the outside of your house, because stucco tends to crack a little bit. And I guess our house came with a free, it included a repaint of the exterior 1 year after we moved in. And so we got them to paint the patio for us, so it looked just perfectly matched the house.
Yeah, that was
good.
good.
They came, so that was fun. And then we had swings on the patio too, like 3 or 4 swings sitting on there.
Another thing that was fun in Arizona was we had our first chicken coop.
Yeah, we bought.
So you built a chicken coop, and it felt like after we got the chickens, it was like, okay, I understand why there's a movie called Chicken Run, because these chickens are constantly trying to break out.
Yeah, and then escape and go climb up on the fence and stuff.
So it was hard to like keep it really sealed and really, really tight so they couldn't.
But we would let them out sometimes on purpose if we could watch them, and they'd run around the yard and eat bugs and go in the garden and scratch around. I remember we had a couple of chickens die though, because we put some Amdro out to kill the fire ants in the garden.
Yeah.
And then the chickens were scratching around, and they found the Amdro, and they were eating the Amdro, and they poisoned themselves.
Yeah, I remember.
And one of the chickens it was barely hanging on alive, and I kept squeezing it, and I was making it like vomit and stuff. And finally it came back and it lived. Wow, all of its compadres died. We had production reds, and they started collecting eggs and stuff. It was fun.
Yeah, I remember having that.
We had an ash tree.
The funeral
for the chickens. Yeah, so that was funny. The chicken died, and so we decided to do it kind of dramatic, and so we all dressed up in our Sunday clothes. And we went outside to the garden and dug a big hole and put the chicken inside. Was the funeral for a hamster, or was it the chicken?
No, it was a chicken.
And we put it in a box, and we put it down in the hole, and then before I started throwing dirt on it, I said, well, Quincy, do you have any last words you'd like to say to the chicken? And do you remember what she said?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh, it was so funny. So she was just sitting there and she goes, goodbye. And I can't remember the name of it. And she goes, you were my best friend. She started crying. And then we threw some dirt on it and then buried it in the garden.
Speaking of,
was her best friend.
speaking of pets. Speaking of pets. Remember when that
The
fish
goldfish.
died?
Oh yeah, was it a goldfish or when it was
I think it was a
Siamese
beta.
fighting?
A beta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a bowl, and we'd keep it in the kitchen, and fish are pretty, touchy. And anyway,
Yeah.
one day, a Sunday morning, we get up before church, and the fish is floating upside down, and it's dead. And so it was pretty traumatic for Quincy and all this stuff. So
Yeah, she wasn't used to dying animals
no,
just yet.
Not yet. Yeah, we got her used to it later, but anyways, so she's kind of like traumatized. So when she's not looking, I take the bowl and I just go dump the whole bowl into the toilet. And anyway, we go to church and we come back, and we're hanging out on this Sunday afternoon.
And she didn't know you had done that.
No, we just said that it's gone.
Yeah.
So anyway, we come back from church, and she goes to the bathroom, comes out all kind of sad, and I guess I forgot to flush the fish, so she went to the bathroom and it was sitting in the toilet. Like, whoops.
It wasn't a proper thing for her. Like she didn't know, oh, you flush a dead fish down the toilet. No, like how did her fish end up in the toilet?
Yeah.
She was really traumatized by that. So funny.
One thing I remember about Phoenix was our most common date night. Like we were really good ever since we've been married. We've been good about going on a date every week, and that's awesome. And our dates were usually go out to eat, and then go to Home Depot and get something for our project.
Something.
So like we'd go out to eat like on a Friday night, and then we'd come home, and then that would be our project the next day on Saturday. And so all of our dates were like, what's going to be our project on Saturday tomorrow?
Yeah.
And whether it was planting trees or putting in grass, or I remember one time you made this kind of lattice work that we hung over the island in the kitchen, and you could hang pots and decorations from it and stuff. Like we just got little chains and hooked it up to the ceiling with those little anchor weights. And
yeah.
Anyway, we were always really kind of crafty, trying to figure out ways to save money and make things on our own.
Make our house really fun.
You made our own headboard.
Refinish furniture, and
we bought a little stand. Like we had those. There was no such thing as a flat screen TV yet, so we had the big cumulative junk and cube heavy TV, and so we bought a little bracket and hung it on our bedroom wall and put our TV up there so we could watch TV in our bedroom.
Yeah, so we had Briggs. Briggs was born in that house, and so was Boston and Piper.
Yeah.
We brought all three of them home from the hospital.
To that house, yeah. Remember we'd play in the backyard like lion?
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about that?
Oh, that was hilarious. Tag would you put a wig on?
No, I don't think
No,
I
I
would.
swear you did.
Okay, whatever. I don't remember that, but whatever. Whatever
was
you
like
happens
a
to be in
mane.
your memory.
It was a mane.
Okay.
So, and did you wear knee pads?
Yes. So we bought these volleyball knee pads because I always had like pretty wimpy skin on my knees from all the diving I did on the tennis team.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So he would be in the backyard with his knee pads on and his mane, and the kids would come out, and he would be like a lion, like he was going to attack them.
And they would run around the yard, and I would crawl. The rules I had to crawl.
He would kind of stalk them.
But at first I would crawl slowly, like I'm slowly stalking them like a cat, and then I'd break out into a gallop. And when I gallop, when I crawl, I can crawl super fast.
Yeah,
like
he's running on his knees.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
And the kids are screaming for their life, and I'm making the most vicious roars I can come up with.
And like he would just grab them by their foot, as they're running, and just make them biff it so hard.
And they're rolling in the grass, but now we had grass. I wasn't doing that in the dirt.
But yeah, oh my gosh, it was so funny. Oh, that was hilarious. We also had a trampoline back there, and we had a swing that, I don't know, did we get that at a garage sale or something? Because we had it tied to the tree, so you could climb up into the tree and swing or slide down the slide.
It wasn't a tree, the swing. It was a slide.
Yeah, I meant slide.
It was a green slide, with a little bit waviness in it. And then, we hooked it up to one of the... We planted a whole row of ficus trees because our backyard backed up against 35th Avenue. We wanted a little privacy and sound and shade from the sun going down because our backyard was facing west. So we put up all these ficus trees. And so the ficus trees were pretty good climbing trees. They had a lot of branches. And so we got the slide and we hooked it up inside one of the trees and cut some branches around it so that you could slide down it without hitting yourself in the face. And then the kids could just climb the tree as a ladder and get up inside the tree and then get on the slide and slide down. It was so awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. So that was fun.
Another thing that we did is my dad helped us build like a volleyball pole with a crank and a nice anchor, and we installed it in the yard because we had a pretty big backyard.
We also had a zip line, didn't we?
Yeah, so we had a pole. We had the volleyball pole, and when we put it in the anchor, we could crank up the volleyball net and make it really tight and play volleyball in the backyard. Our backyard was about as big as a volleyball court. It wasn't much bigger than that. At least on the grass part. There was some gravel and garden area. But anyway, so we'd play volleyball, and then we figured out that if we unhooked the volleyball net and we hooked up another cable, it would go from the high part of the volleyball net on one side to the low part of the volleyball net on the other side. It was a perfect zip line. And one pole was in the grass that my dad made for us, and the other pole was one of the columns on the patio.
I actually got a scar from that thing.
From the zip line?
Yeah, I think. Well, I just remember walking first and just hitting my face on it. And like right in between my eyes, my nose.
Like a cable?
It got a cut or something, and I was like, oh, there's a scar.
Remember we had that little kind of in order to make the volleyball court, we wanted to have a little variety in the yard, so we built this little hill where we had all this extra dirt.
Yeah.
And we built a little rock wall with some like river rocks, but we didn't want the wall to, like the mound, to interfere with the volleyball court, so we kind of built it as a right angle, kind of on one side of the yard, kind of around one of the corners. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was fun. The kids had fun, like running over it or riding in that car down the hill.
Yeah.
That little hill that we made.
Oh yeah. We had this little plastic car,
cool.
like a little Tykes car, where the kids kind of sit in it and their feet dangle out the bottom like Fred Flintstone cars. And then they could walk around, or they could go up on that hill and just ride down it.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I really liked our neighbors. We were friends with all of our neighbors.
Yeah, we had the Powells.
The Powells, the Van Hassels, the Blakeleys.
Yeah.
Can't remember the people on the left.
Yeah. What was their name?
But yeah, we were good friends with all of them, and they were friends with our kids and stuff.
Do you remember? We had like some palm trees in the front yard. That was like a queen palm. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
One time I ever planted, and then I can't remember all the other plants. Those yellow flowers.
Well, I felt really blessed to be able to have that house, and we liked our ward. We had a lot of friends in the ward.
What was the name of the ward?
Rose Garden Ward.
Yeah, the Rose Garden Ward. And what, the steak?
Deer Valley.
Yeah, Deer Valley steak.
Yeah.
Our church was on Rose Garden Lane, just south of the what high school was it? Barry Goldwater High School. And then do you remember what columns you had while we were there in the church?
Well, I know I was in the Relief Society presidency, and I was in Young Women too.
Yeah,
Those are the two that I remember.
Oh, yeah, it was a good memory. I started out in the Deacon's Quorum. I was an advisor. We had 3 kids in a Deacon's Quorum, and our ward was thinking about combining Deacon's Quorums with another ward because we just didn't have enough. Because we only had 3 deacons, and at any given Sunday, or Tuesday activity, one of them would be missing, so we only had 1 or 2, and it was kind of lame. But I reached out to a couple kids that were inactive, and next thing you know, we had 4 or 5, and then they had a couple non-members start coming, and so we had 6 or 7, and then another couple deacons moved in. Like, we did a fast with our deacons quorum that we could get more people. Next thing you know, we had like 12 people. It was fun. But then I got a calling, and I was the elders quorum president, and I just had to work on everybody trying to do their home teaching, and I taught the quorum once in a while, and I always tried to have 2 counselors where one was strong and one needed help, like one needed a calling and stuff. work, help them. And after I was elder quorum for a while, then I was on the stake high council, and then I got called to be in the bishopric, and I was in the bishopric when we moved in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived there in that house we moved in June or July of 1997, and then we moved sometime in the summer of 2003 when Piper was a pretty small baby, right?
Yeah.
When we moved to Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else do you remember about it?
I don't know. I loved it. It was...
Oh, you know what else? Another thing I remember? Something I regret. The one time you agreed to let us try having a dog, and we picked the worst dog. It was Deacon, the beagle, and he was just kind of crazy. Like,
he was a cute dog.
He was
but
cute. He looked cute, but his personality, he did not have any affection towards us. Do you know what I mean? Like,
he didn't seem to care. If he could run away, he would be gone.
Yeah, he would run away, and he was nice to us just as much as he was nice to any other stranger. But he wouldn't come when we'd call him, and he just was he just wanted to play and follow his nose, and just everyone was his master. And he'd bark a little bit.
The main problem is that he would bark when we were gone, and he was outside, and the neighbors got really annoyed by it.
So I just wish that we would have, the one time you agreed to have a dog, I wish we would have picked a more, a more lovable dog. None of us really felt that attached to him. And I think we sold him when we were getting ready to move, I think, to Utah.
Yeah. So.
We'd go visit your family all the time, you remember, on Sundays?
Mm-hmm.
We'd go to church, come home, change our clothes, and then head over to your mom and dad's, and then just eat popcorn and watch TV and play in the backyard.
Yeah, hang out with those guys. That was fun. So, it was fun. I loved
remember that windstorm? Remember we'd get those monsoons that would come through? Mm-hmm. And one time this really big monsoon came through. It was almost like a tornado. And it blew things around, and it lifted up our trampoline. We had a round trampoline in the backyard, and it flew away out of our yard. We watched it just fly away. And you're like, the trampoline, you called me at work, the trampoline is gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And I was like, the trampoline moved? Or what do you mean? No, it's gone. It's just gone.
Gone.
I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh. And so when I got home, we went, and you could see the trampoline took off, lifted off out of our yard. It flew completely over our neighbor's house without touching it.
Didn't it bounce off the roof?
And smashed into the roof of the next house over.
Oh, okay.
And so our neighbors next door were free and clear, and then you could see this big round crash of tile on their roof, like where it just cracked all their tile. And then it took off again and flew over like 6 more houses and landed in a field way out by this old wall, this dam. And anyway, so we come home, and it's in parts scattered all throughout the neighborhood as it was flying around. And we walk around the neighborhood, and we pick up a bar here and a spring there. And
we're like gathering pieces. Most people would throw it away.
And we brought it home.
Oh no, not us.
And
we were
so
throw it
cheap.
Away.
We
collected the pieces.
Found all of the legs and the bars and the mat, and we just would look through the mud in this field, and we'd find springs scattered all around. And finally we came all home, and we were missing like 2 or 3 springs. And we hooked it all back up.
You put it together, you screwed it together.
I screwed it together, bent all the bars back in there. This time I screwed it together because it was bent. And we still had our trampoline.
We still had a trampoline.
It was fun. Anyway, good times.
Yeah.
Finally we moved. And from there we went to Utah.
Yeah.
That'll be, I guess, a topic of a future date night now.
Yep. So that was fun. Enjoyed it.
Good times.
Yeah.
Happy memories. So anyway, this concludes our episode of
Date Night Dialogues.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.